Subtle skills, big results.
Welcome to the Ninja Selling Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Ninja Selling Podcast. Garrett and Matt with you as always. And we have a quick hit, very, I would say, precise topic for you today on one of the Ninja 9 systems here, which I think will be beneficial for everybody to hear. Before we jump into it, just a quick reminder, if you're new, if you joined us on this podcast and you're like, what is Ninja Selling? Head over to ninjaselling.com. You can learn more there. You can also click on the coaching button to learn more about what Garrett and I do with most of our time. We also have a team of about 30 coaches that Garrett has hand selected who are incredible at guiding people if you're looking for that one-on-one touch there. And also our Facebook group. Head over there to Facebook and search for the Ninja Selling Podcast. Join in an incredible group. You can engage with us, ask questions, get a incredible. I saw a post on there, Garrett. Somebody had posted like within hours, it was 40 or 50 comments. It's incredible the engagement that happens there. So hop in there and look at it. Garrett, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
How are you?
I'm having a really good day.
You having a good day? Okay.
It's a really good day. Yeah.
It is a good day. We've been having fun. We've been having a fun morning together. This is not the first episode we're recording today. We're having a good session today. So
we're on a roll. They call it a roll, Matt.
We're on a roll. We're doing a bang up job.
I wouldn't go that. No, not that far. We're on a roll. But
it's an inside joke.
I'm excited to chat about this. We do have it's a nice kind of short topic, I think, for today, and nothing incredibly fancy. But we're talking about. We did an episode here a while back about spectrums, and everything's kind of on a spectrum. And one of the systems we kind of lightly threw out there was notes, and we circled back around to this. Well, let's really talk about whether we want to call it the spectrum of a note or the power of a note, but how do you also write notes that make a massive impact for people? Because Matt and I, we receive notes all the time. You probably receive notes time to time. And there's certain notes that make you stop and go, that is exactly what I needed to hear. Like that really hit home. And there's some that's like, yeah, it was a nice note. And there's some that you're like, oh, they must have been trying to check a box. They must have needed to write a note.
Yeah.
So with that being said, Matt, I'm excited to actually go down this topic today and kind of kick it around because we see them all.
Yeah, we do. And, not to be double dipping on our episode from the beginning of May, but part of this too leads into how are we receiving responses from notes, right?
Yep. And
what's the energy we're putting into this? And using notes, take whatever we talk about notes today and apply it to everything else that you do, right? Because this isn't just exclusive for notes, but I think thinking about how we take the easy way out, which was our prior episode, a lot of people avoid notes because they want to take the easy way out. So they'll send a text or they'll drop an email or they'll send an e-card. And I'm not saying that those things are bad, but if you're doing it because you're like, I don't want to sit down and write a note, we're already off to a difficult start here. And if you're looking for responses from your notes, okay, we need to rethink, well, what are we really writing down? And also, how are we showing up in terms of our frequency of notes? Like, what are the important milestones to write notes for? And what are the important things that have nothing to do with milestones that we should be writing notes for? And I'm sure certain people are like, oh gosh, I'm already tired just listening to this because there's just so I just want to write a note.
Well, and Matt, what you just said is really important because there are certain people that I have received just kind of like notes where you can tell they're stretching to to write a note, and then they do it often. Like I might get one once a quarter from them where you can tell they're kind of finding things to write a note for, and it loses power, loses its energy around it, the authenticity of what it is when sometimes those situations happen. So I think that's the interesting thing that we're going to get a chance to kind of hit on today is that there's so many different ways you can approach it, but this is a total energy in, energy out. That's what I've noticed with handwritten notes specifically. And it's a great one that you could take and kind of look at all of your systems and look at, okay, energy in, energy out. If I really take the time to sit down and write a note, a really powerful one, it's going to take me some energy. I'm going to go back to all my knowledge of who this person is, all my memories that I have with them, all the things that are important to them, who they are to me as a person, the things and qualities that I love about them, which is why I choose to have them in my world and choose to make them a friend of mine. And I'm going to take all that stuff and I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write a really powerful note about who this person is to me in my life. And I don't write notes very often. I am not somebody that like sits down and just composes notes. If you ever get a note from me, it's because it was well-deserved and I went way out of my way doing something that does not necessarily come easy to me to be able to do it. But that's, I think, is where they become even more powerful, is when you take that much time and that much energy and that much thought to say, okay, I'm going to take the time to write this note right now. And you'll see the energy that comes out the backside of it, Matt. And that's what I think is always, I use the example of playing tennis all the time with notes. And so I might have said this on an episode a while back, but I look at it like a game of tennis, and there's two types of tennis. There's kill the opponent and there's a volley. And what my hope is when we are writing a handwritten note, we're getting into a great, strong volley with the person who's on the other side of the net. And volleys can be pretty intense. Like, it's not just like a lobbing the ball back and forth. Like, the more you want to actually practice with somebody, that volley becomes more intense and more intense and more intense. And you smash that ball out across that net and it gets smashed back to you. And you're playing a game now. That's how you want to look at a note, is like, how can I lob that ball out there across that net with the right intention, the right energy behind it, where that person that I'm now going to start this game with takes it and hurls it back at me in some way, through a text, through a phone call, through an email, through a driving over to my house in tears going like, I can't tell you what our friendship means, and I didn't want to do it any other way than face to face. Thank you for the note. Like, that's that energy coming back. And by the way, once you start it, it just keeps lobbing back and forth on itself. And that's your goal. The goal is just to keep lobbing that energy back and forth. And I don't think a lot of people, when they look at a note, Matt, and this is why we want to talk about this today, even remotely look at it as what it could be.
No, I think we look at notes, and this could be because of the evolution of the digital world and things like that. We look at notes as this ancient form of sending a message. And it is, but it's also a great form of sending energy because of all the things. And this, like we talked even about with video with Darren Dawson, is when you make something personalized for somebody, you are spending the time to do something just for them. And so we look at a couple of components in Ninja when it comes to our systems. There's personalization and there's customization. A note is personal and customized because it is a message just for that person. Now, a note can be simply just personalized as well, if you have it built into your process of a thank you for the meeting and things like that. However, still personalized, which is one of the highest things that people value, is something personalized to them. Think about why people get like backpacks with their name on them, or when kids are playing sports, when they
you have your name on your backpack.
No.
Oh, sorry,
but
sorry, man.
I'm thinking about, so I'm in kid mode, right? So like when I go and drop my daughter off at school, like all the kids have their names on their backpacks and things like that. But think about like when your kids are playing sports, there's like the team that they're on where they just pull the jerseys out of the bag and everybody puts one on. And then they get to that team where their name's on the back of the jersey. They get to high school and everything, and how special it is for them because it's personalized for them. That's the cool power of a handwritten note.
You've never seen a happier kid when their name is on the back of their jersey for the first time.
Oh, it's so cool. I remember when that happened to me with the sports that I did, and I got my name on, it wasn't a jersey, it was a jacket, but it was like, whoa, that's so cool. Like, that's me, right? People feel that way when they receive handwritten notes. Now, if there's a sentiment in there that actually means something too, it's even better. And so I think that's the first thing that we need to think about when we write a handwritten note, is this is a personal message to somebody, and it is designed to make them feel good, not designed to make you look good. If it makes them feel good, it's going to make you look good. But so many people will spend the time of thinking, how do I make my note make me look good? Just write a personal note to start. Don't think about yourself. This is where people are like, should I drop my business card in? Should I do this? And all these things. I don't even want to get into those tactics. Just don't think about it. If you feel it's appropriate, put it in there. If you don't feel it's appropriate, don't put it in there. Honestly, it's probably not going to make that big of a difference if your intent is focused on personalizing the message for the person who's receiving it.
What you said was so important, which was it's about making them feel good, not you look good. That right there, you can box that and say, okay, it's time for me to sit down and write my notes today. How am I going to do this so I can get some more business? And how am I going to write these notes so they're going to come and refer me their friends? Like, Matt, what you just said is where people need to stop and go, okay, no. The reason I'm writing this right now is to make somebody feel good. I've used this example before, but Andrea Toole, who's an agent at the group, she was using a note example with me one time. And she said she was working with a builder. The builder's spouse is very influential in town, works with lots of charities, lots of organizations. And Andrea was like, I really don't know her all that well, but I admire her. I look up to her as somebody that I would like to be that when I grow up. And so the interesting thing is Andrea wrote a note to his wife, gave it to him to say, can you please give this to your wife? This is something I've been wanting to give to her. The builder gets a hold of her and he goes, I just want to tell you the impact that you made. The wife did not. She did not reach directly out to Andrea because they really didn't have that strong of a connection. He says that note is hanging above the door in the garage right now. And every single day when my wife goes out to start her day, she reaches up and she touches the note as she's going out into the garage. It's tacked above the door. That's a powerful note. That was not with the intent of making Andrea look good at all. That was something that she really wanted to tell this person the power that they were having, the impact they were making in this world that they were sharing. And that's a powerful note. You want to look at something you can write? That's where you need to start.
And I will say what I love about that is one, it is a selfless note, all about the other person, and you're reaching into the family. And I think if you want to make people feel good, write notes. Like if you have a contact, a client, somebody that you know well, write a note to someone in their family. And I'm going to give Russell Smith with Kentucky Select Properties in Louisville, Kentucky.
I love Russell.
A great shout out here because he runs really, really good systems. Phenomenal systems. And ever since he's discovered Ninja, his system, which was a long time ago, by the way, his systems have only gotten better. And without fail, I can always count on Russell for sending a wedding anniversary card to me, birthday cards to my kids. And we even got gifts when the kids were born. And I know he has a system for this. But I also know that when he sits down to write these notes, he thinks about the people he writes to and puts incredible energy in it because I can feel it when I receive it. And so much so, like the cards are always addressed to whoever the note. So like the anniversary card isn't to me, it's to me and my wife. And I always never notice anniversary cards because my daughter's birthday is 3 days after our anniversary. So whenever birthday cards come in the mail, I usually just like stick them on the counter. I'm like, oh, we'll open these with Victoria when you get home. And Russell sent a anniversary card. And I just thought it was another birthday card for Victoria. Set it on the counter. My wife opened it because it was addressed to Matt and Jen. And she opened it up. She's like, oh, how nice. Russell sent us a card. She knows Russell. She's never spoken to Russell. She's never met Russell. She knows Russell because of the notes that he's written to us. And that's so cool. And it makes me feel good to see my wife feel good about reading a note, to see Victoria feel good about getting another birthday card. And maybe someday she'll figure out who Russell is as well. But it's so cool to see that. And I think, so you can also have a system to have, writing a simple birthday card, right? It's like, okay. And we talked about that on the spectrum. We specifically went into the birthday card example of you can write a generic birthday card or you can take it up there. But even just having that system of personalization and making that happen makes people feel special. And that's what we're trying to do with all of our interactions.
Well, and Matt, I've had a realization here the other day, and I wrote this down because it's been on my mind a lot. And this is that handwritten notes are an interesting thing. Because if you think back to the original handwritten notes, we're going to go back a handful of years. Let's take all major forms of communication off the table. Let's go back to when a handwritten note was how you communicate with people. On battlefields, when there was a battle going on and they wanted to stop the battle, they had to write a handwritten note and they had to put it into a scroll and they had to get it on horseback and get that thing as fast as they could to that battlefield to say, the war is over. You guys can cease fire. We're good. Everything's done. Notes way back in the day were the way that information was communicated over distance. Now, evolution happens and there's other forms of communication, and all of a sudden, the teletap is what it was called. Morse code came in where you can send notes that way, information that way. Then we came into the phone and everybody's like, oh my gosh, the phone, why would we send a note anymore when you can just make a phone call? And all of a sudden the note became a little bit more of a special thing because it wasn't the way you communicate, but it was still a way that you could make a really important impact to somebody, that you took the time to write a note. As things continue to progress, I was watching this. The phone is now turning into what the note used to be. And I'm watching a lot of people go, well, why would you stop and make a phone call when you can text and you can do all this type of stuff? The note is still an incredibly powerful thing. And I was sitting back and going, it's funny, the phone is turning into what the note kind of had to go through with its evolution.
Yeah.
And it's now starting to turn into a thing with the phone, which is you bothered to make a phone call. Like when it's important and you really want to hear somebody's voice. Like I called my parents the other day, haven't talked to them in a little while. And it was like, you could all of a sudden that moment of like, it's so good to hear your voice. Tell me what you guys have been up to. Tell me if you guys have been on the golf course, and having that conversation with them. Could I have sent them a text? Yes. Could we have sent an email back and forth with some pictures of my dad on the golf course and things like that? Of course we could have. But there's something about hearing somebody's voice and taking that time to make a phone call. And it just kind of got my attention. Like, this is an interesting evolution all this stuff is going into. And where a lot of people for years were going like, well, why would you write a note when you can make a phone call? We're kind of along those lines right now. Why would you make a phone call when you can just do these other forms of communication? And I think it's a great moment for us as ninjas and us as relationship builders. Like, don't take the easy way out. Like we talked about last time, these really great relationships are the ones where you apply a little bit more effort in, you apply a little bit more of your heart and your genuine side to you. And these relationships just blossom on the other end. And it's why our systems work. It's why this all comes together the way that it does. So just look at that evolution. And for me, that was kind of like, I had to go way back to before any other forms of communication were available.
It's a great point, and I appreciate the evolution. I think you're spot on with what the phone's turned into. It's funny that we've gone from reading text to speaking to back to reading text, because I think it's a sign of we don't want to take the time.
Yeah.
Or we don't have the time, or you're not valuable enough for my time right now. I'm not saying that text messages don't have their place, believe me. But I do think that
you gotta be so careful nowadays. Everything's like, wait, okay, hold on. I'm not saying they're bad.
Oh, Matt thinks texts are dumb. Well, and here's the other thing too, right? I mean, you're not going to scale your business today by writing handwritten notes. And that's the challenge that people face. Like, well, if I need to do something right now, like handwritten notes, slowing things down is not the way to do it. I need more ads, more this, more leads, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you're right. However, longevity is probably a bigger goal that you have. And building high quality relationships, that note tacked above the door of that person you mentioned that Andrea wrote the note to, if they ever want to buy or sell real estate, or if they know somebody, they're calling Andrea.
They're 100%.
Hands down. Even if she doesn't even communicate well with them, which I'm sure she will still. But that's the power of building a good relationship. And a note is an incredible tool to build a high quality relationship that's going to produce for you. And maybe not in business. Maybe it's going to come back around in a different way for you, in a very good way.
Well, when I look at business, Matt, I look at like a cake, and I use a cake as an example all the time. And you're right. A handwritten note is not going to scale a business, and just writing notes all the time is not going to. But if you have a business built, and we're going to use the cake as a business, people know that you sell real estate. You have a database of people that you have a relationship with, and you're doing your best to stay in flow with them. What I want you to think of this cake, and then I want you to take a big old damn sparkler and stick it right in the top of it and light it. And all of a sudden, people pay attention to the cake. All of a sudden, it's like, well, what's going on over there? Like, what is that? Like, whoa, like that's an exciting looking cake. It's like, yeah, if you just had the sparkler on its own, it's just a sparkler, and it's great, and it's cool, and it's fun. But when you attach it into the top of the cake in this business that you're creating and you put it together, all of a sudden this thing becomes an exciting business. It brings life to the business. Same thing with lunches and making really powerful lunches with people. Is you can go and eat all day long with people, but when you attach that great energy into this business that you're creating and what you're doing and what your specialties are, all of a sudden it raises the level and makes it come to life. That's the cool thing of handwritten notes. It's one of those elements. It's not the only element. You can't sit around and just do that. But when you attach it in as a big piece of this, it is a way to elevate relationships, elevate connections really fast on a high level. And it's so powerful.
It really is. Well, and part of the genesis of this topic was writing notes that turn into responses so you can have that volley, right?
Yes.
And so what I would challenge people to do off of this is do things that don't scale, because those are the things that are going to generate the opportunity to have more conversation. If you're focusing on things that can, quote, scale, it's going to be quick, it's going to be fast, it's going to be those types of things. I get it. But make sure you have that time scheduled to do things that don't scale. And there's a big reason why handwritten notes have its very own place in the Ninja 9. There's only 9 success habits in the Ninja selling system, and writing 2 notes a day is one of those things. So there's a reason why it's there. Take the time to give the intention to the person that you're writing a note to, and you're going to be able to start to create. Now, it doesn't mean that someone's going to immediately text you or call you when they receive the note. It might be the next time you speak to them or whatever. But if you are getting 0 responses from all the notes that you write, the intention may not be pure. Your intention may be about yourself, and you got to think about that.
So I think that when you're looking at writing a powerful note, like I'm sitting here thinking about people in my world as we're just talking here right now, Matt, and going, okay, well, who could I write notes to like today that would make a powerful impact in these people's worlds? And I started to think about 2 people on my street. I've got Andy Hedman, who lives 2 doors down from me right now. I've shared this street with Andy. I've lived here for 11 years. And we have Beth. Beth, it's funny, I don't know Beth's last name, but Beth is on the other side of my street, just 2 houses down. Her house is currently up for sale right now. Beth makes the best pickles in the world, just so you guys know.
Mm-hmm. I like a good pickle.
She decided to drive through her garage door the other day rather than open it. And I had to fix her garage door for her, which it looks beautiful, by the way. If anybody needs a garage door fixed, I can do that. At the same time, she bestowed upon me a ton of pickles. So I'm sitting here talking with you, Matt, and going like, okay, what if I was to write a note to Beth, specifically on how great it was having her as a neighbor for the past 11 years, how great it was having my kids share a neighborhood with her, who she's been to us. By the way, her pickles are incredible. Obviously, she's on to this next journey of her life, which she is. She's building a house right now that I know of. But just sharing with her what it's been like having her as a neighbor and how much I appreciate her and what a great neighbor she has been for 11 years. Andy over here, I could write a very similar note. Andy's not going anywhere. Andy could easily be my neighbor for the next 10 years. Andy's an interesting one because Andy gave my kids tons of his time teaching them and helping them to read. My kids have great learning disabilities that I have given to them when it comes to dyslexia and all kinds of stuff. And I have great memories of my daughter sitting on his front room, barely reading through books, barely trying to get the words out, and him being so patient. And the way that my kids look at him as a person of great influence in their life and the love that they have for him, I've never told him that, but I could totally write that note of basically saying, like, I just want to explain to you who you've been in our life and who you are as a neighbor and the impact that you've made in my children's lives. Those handwritten notes are ones that I know for a fact are going to hit them in a really, really, really positive way. And what I'm going to encourage everybody to do over the next couple of weeks here, as you listen to this episode, is take just a second and slow down and think about the people in your world that have made big impacts in your world, that have gone out of their way to do something nice for you, that have gone out of their way to do something nice for other people. And take a time and write a note to acknowledge them. We don't acknowledge people enough in our world for the great things that they do. And there's stuff that people do every single day that you can easily stop and go, that's a really good person I just bumped into. And if you want to take the time and write them a note and tell them how great of a person they are and why, you're going to make their day. It's telling you that right now, without fail. Have fun with it. So That's my 2 cents on this, man.
There you go. That's the action item for today. Like, write a note like that and send some of those pickles over to South Carolina, Garrett.
I just talked to her in the front yard the other day. She goes, "You're low on pickles, aren't you?" I am always low on pickles. Yes. Please.
I love it.
Even my kids, I put them in the fridge like, "Where did you get these?" I'm like, I have a supplier.
I know someone. Got a special hookup.
I know someone. I know somebody who knows somebody.
A pickle dealer.
Well, Matt, I'm happy we went down this topic today. I think we've covered it. You guys all have an action item that I want you to take with this. And what I want you to do is I want you to take us up on the action item. But then the next step that I want you to do is I want you to comment below this episode of whatever feedback you got from the note that you wrote. I know if you take time, like we just talked about, find somebody that's really important that needs a note like that, and then give it about a week or so, and then come back and give me your feedback on it. We're going to have some incredible shares from people. So be aware. Pick your notes that you got going out. Say, these are the ones that I'm doing my experiment on. I'm pouring my heart into it. And the intention is I'm going to come back and share with the Ninja community what my results were. And the results are not, I got a piece of business. The results are the person called me saying that I needed to hear, and thank you for being who you are. That's the results that we're looking for, something along those lines. So with that being said, Matt, thank you so much for bringing this topic to the table and going down this route with me today. I think it's absolutely awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
If you want to learn more about Ninja Selling, go to ninjaselling.com. If you want to learn more about the coaching part and all the wonderful coaches that we have, you can find that under coaching at ninjaselling.com, or you can search Ninja Coaching. If you want to learn more about the community of amazing people that are all together that listen to the podcast, and this is where you're going to go share your results of your notes, go to the Ninja Selling Podcast on Facebook. You will find an amazing group of people there. We jump in there every once in a while too. And just want to say thanks to everybody. As always, we love doing this. Matt and I have a blast doing this, and I'm just always blown away at the impact that it makes and the people that listen. And thanks for tuning in, as always.
I agree. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
If you enjoyed today's episode and would like more, visit us at theninjasellingpodcast.com.
There you will also find links for more information about ninja selling and coaching. Have an incredible day.